So in this video I want to talk about why you might be afraid to play a certain role in your life. So maybe you've seen another person play a role that you would like to play, or you have your own idea of a role you would like to play, or you're just interested in this concept. Maybe this concept is new to you, that everything you do in life is a certain role you play. So if that's applicable, then this video will be for you. So let's say there is some kind of role that you would like to try out, but you're not able to fully commit to it. And let's examine the reasons for that. You might think that this role is morally not acceptable. You might have the idea that outside judgment is dangerous, and you're not willing to risk exposing yourself in this role, because committing to the role 100%, if you are mistake yourself with the role, criticism will be a direct attack on your being. Or you fear any other consequence, which could be internal or external. So not just external repercussions, but also you might be afraid of what you discover in yourself if you would go fully with the role. So let's for now stay with those three barriers that could prevent you from trying out or fully committing to a certain role. There's another open question, which is it possible to try out the role and embody it at the same time 100% if you haven't yet, let's say, fully committed to it as part of your life identity? And I don't know the answer for certain, but I do think so. It is possible. For example, in my personal case, I could take on a certain role for the duration of one video and only think from that role and how that role would think. So I would become fully one with the role. Another approach would be to observe myself while I am playing the role. So that way I might not become fully merged with it, but this would create other effects in my own perception, and maybe as a result also in the perception of people. But that would open a different avenue of thought. So let's for now stay at the three barriers that prevent you from trying out a role. The first one was morals. So, morals. I observed in myself that obviously morals are not something fixed. Morals are something that is created by humans, and this might sound dangerous to some people, but it is the truth. So ultimately, you have to take responsibility for your actions, and you have to develop your own ethics. You have to decide what you can carry the effects of your actions and what you cannot fully stand behind. So let me examine in my specific case for the role I'm currently thinking about if morals could be a problem for me, and the answer is no. Morals are in my case not hindering me, but in your case it could be, so consider it. Let's move on to the second point, which was criticism. I think was the second point, if my memory serves me correctly. Fear of criticism. Well, I've discovered myself that the fear of criticism was oftentimes bigger than when the actual criticism arrived. First of all, criticism can only hit something, can only sting you if it highlights to you, makes visible a part that you hadn't considered before, that you have not integrated yet, which means you haven't made a decision how to handle that aspect of you. When you're clear in who you are and when you stand behind your decisions, criticism cannot sting you. So criticism is then nothing that you fear on an existential level. It's a consequence of your actions which you've decided to take on. Optimally, I have to add, because obviously many times we might not see criticism coming, we might not anticipate it. First of all, criticism are only words. At the first level, criticism are only words. So they might not be as bad as you think. Let's move on to the third point, which was any other repercussions that you fear by taking on the role you want to try on. And those could be internal or external. Let's talk maybe about the internal repercussions, because they are more interesting to me. So a good example of an internal repercussion is you might fear what you may become when you take on the role. This could be a host of different things. For example, fear of becoming manipulative, fear of becoming emotionally distant, fear of becoming cruel, fear of becoming power hungry, fear of becoming unethical. So all of the fears of your shadow side. But in my book, it's not optimal to act from fear. If fear is preventing you to do an action, it's not a great reason. A better reason is to make an informed decision on what you want to do. So let me analyze, let me check for myself, while you check for yourself in the meantime. I check for myself if there are any fears of who I might become if I take on a certain role, and if I like that role, that prevent me from taking on a certain role. So we do that right now. I invite you to do it. No, I think I had some of those in the past, but I've solved them. What I currently have is maybe a tiny bit of the external repercussions which would come or maybe to be precise, it's mostly about my internal uncomfortableness when doing certain actions which are linked to conscience, you could say. So definitely I think this introspective session here helped you in some way to give you a direction to where to go in your own introspection, and also it will create an impulse inside of me that the loose ends in my own development can come to fruition. So thank you for taking part with me in this introspective session, and I see you in the next one.